Viren.
सर वीरेंद्र सिंह गुनावत फ्रॉम इंडिया टुडे आज तक। सर सिंपल सवाल करना चाहूँगा कि आपका सफ़र काफ़ी कंट्रोवर्शियल रहा है। एक सिंपल सवाल करना चाहूँगा कि काफ़ी पॉलिटिकल आरोप प्रत्यारोप चले हैं, कुछ इमोशंस आपकी फैमिली की तरफ से भी आए हैं, काफ़ी स्टेटमेंट्स भी आए हैं, आपके फादर ने भी काफ़ी इंटरव्यूज़ में कहे हैं कुछ बातें।
Let me stop you there. My father was surprised by one reporter, and I don't think the reporters should be going after families. They should have stayed away. They got in. He gave an answer. I don't have anything more to say on that.
कोई बात नहीं सर। सवाल से बहुत ही सिंपल सा कि एक कंक्लूजन जानना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि हो सकता है कि हमें बाद में मौका ना मिले सवाल करने का। कैसा रहा सफ़र ये आपका? कुछ कहना चाहेंगे उन लोगों के लिए जो आप पे उंगली उठाए रहे थे?
Look, I have nothing to say. Critics are there all the time. There are also people who send me messages in the plane from the back, anonymous notes saying, thank you for what you're doing. So you get both sides. That's part of the job. You have to take it as the costs and the benefits. And I think the most important thing is that at the end of the day, do you feel you've made a useful contribution, and that, some people are better off as a result of it. I think from that perspective, this has been a fantastic job. And when I said sometime back when somebody asked me, how has it been? I've enjoyed every minute of it, partly because every day when my sort of fellow colleagues at the RBI and I sit together and work, we manage to move the needle forward a little bit at the end of the day. You leave the office saying, we did something. And there are very few places where you can have that sense of satisfaction. So I think this has been a fantastic experience, and I hope there's some value added.
Govardhan.
So Govardhan from the Economic Times. Now that the government has agreed to the inflation targeting, so there are two sentences that you added to the last policy. Is that food prices pushed up the projected inflationary trajectory, and at the same time the risks have tilted to the upside, but you have maintained the inflation forecast at 5%. Is there something uncomfortable that is being left out of the document despite all these risks being flagged off?
No. So we have flagged some risks, but there is, remember, these risks relating to food could be reversed by what we are already seeing as a reasonably good monsoon and the sowing patterns. Now, where we have been a little hesitant is because in the past monsoons, good sowing patterns have been reversed over time because the monsoon has faltered. So until we see the full effects of the monsoon, it would be premature to declare victory. But I think the meteorological department has told us to expect more of the same. Given that, we have some confidence that some of the elements that went up in price, certainly the seasonality in vegetables, but also potentially pulses because of the large sowing in pulses, that some of those prices should come down and should give us the negative impact on inflation, which will offset some of these upside risks that we've talked about. So broadly, we're comfortable that we should be reaching 5%. Of course, there are uncertainties which could emerge.
And you also mentioned about the negative yields in some of the developing economies, sovereign rate. So does that mean that you see a kind of a bond bubble burst?
No, I think those who initially saw the negative yields and were worried about an immediate crash in bond prices were surprised by the fact that the yields went even more negative, and now more yields are trading negative. Is this a healthy and long-term state for the global economy? Probably not. Is it going to collapse tomorrow? Probably not.
Shobna.
Shobna from Financial Express. On the FCNRB, you said you didn't have too much concern. So are you expecting redemptions of the levered and the unlevered positions? Because sometime back there was concern that the banks may not have enough forex to be able to deliver to RBI and then redeem the deposits?
See, let's separate two things. One is the 26 billion, which has come in FCNRB. Now that includes, borrowed. People have borrowed money and then invested in FCNRB. That total is 26 billion. Now let's assume all of it goes out, right? We have not only covered it in forward markets. We have covered about 90% of it in forward, 80% of it in forward markets, and we have 365 billion as of last count in reserves. So even if it all goes out, we can completely, pay for it, right? So the real question is whether there would be short-term disruptions in the market, because, for example, some of the banks who have sold us forward contracts find that they're not able to realize dollars from elsewhere. We will be monitoring the markets. We don't want to give a blanket guarantee that there will be no volatility. We want banks to be prepared to deliver to us. But if there is volatility, we will do what is necessary.
Pradeep?
सर, आपने जो आम लोगों के लिए दो बातें कही, उस पर आपसे ये जानना चाहेंगे कि आप अवेयरनेस बढ़ाने की बात कर रहे हैं और हम लोग भी अपने चैनल पे अवेयरनेस बढ़ाते रहते हैं, लेकिन एज अ रेगुलेटर जो आपने KYC रूल्स की बात कही, अगर किसी ग्राहक को कोई शिकायत है और आपके रूल्स बताने के बाद भी उसका काम नहीं होता, तो क्या शिकायत करने का, रिड्रेसल का कोई मैकेनिज़्म है? और सेम जो आपने फ्रॉडुलेंट ईमेल्स की बात कही, फ़ोन कॉल्स भी आते हैं लोगों को, क्या उसकी शिकायत का कोई मैकेनिज़्म आप बना रहे हैं जो RBI के ज़रिए उनको एक रास्ता मिले या कोई कदम उठाए जाएँ या कोई एक्शन लिया जाए? और दूसरा एक सवाल मेरा इन्फ्लेशन टारगेटिंग पे था कि आप जब आए थे तो सरकार ने आपसे बातचीत करके इन्फ्लेशन टारगेट तय किया था। इस बार गवर्नर और MPC का अपॉइंटमेंट का प्रोसेस चल रहा है, उसके पहले ही एक टारगेट आ गया है। क्या आपके साथ कोई बातचीत हुई, आपके कंसेंसस से ये टारगेट तय हुआ?
Okay. On the KYC norms, I mean, usually if you have a complaint about banks, you first take it up with the bank. You ask the bank, here's a particular problem I have, and banks will deal with it. If you cannot get redress from the banks, you can use our ombudsman system. So that is the second layer. After you first take it up with the banks and give them an opportunity to redress. You can do that on our website. There is a way to file a complaint with the ombudsperson via email, via the website. The second aspect is fraud, theft, ATM fraud, phone fraud. Those we now have a special website which will send your complaint directly to the state level coordination committee, which includes some of the law enforcement agencies. And if you have thus and such complaint, we will give you immediately a registered number for your complaint, and you can track how that complaint is being addressed by the various agencies. Mundra sir, would you like to add on that? So that in fact was inaugurated last week. That particular website and the complaint on the.
Regarding the 4% plus and minus 2 target, there are three processes. One, the RBI's expert committee to revise and strengthen the monetary policy framework itself had recommended 4% plus or minus 2, and the recommendations were based on a fair bit of analysis. Secondly, the monetary policy framework agreement, which the governor signed on behalf of the RBI with the government in February of 2015, that also had 4 plus or minus 2%. And subsequent to the amendment of the RBI Act, there have been discussions with the government from the RBI side, and what has been endorsed is the 4% plus or minus 2. And that process is regardless of the Monetary Policy Committee. The target has to be established between the bank and the government. Thank you.
Sachin?
जो सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग जवाब था ना जो इस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में रघुराम राजन जी दिया, यस वी डिड समथिंग, हाँ हमने कुछ किया, जब मैंने कार्यकाल अपना कमेंसमेंट किया था और आज जब जा रहा हूँ, जाने की बात हो रही है सुमित, हाँ हमने कुछ किया, लेकिन आप देखिए इस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में जो सबसे बड़ी बात थी ना, जो मुंद्रा साहब ने भी बोली कि बीते एक साल में चीज़ सबसे ज़्यादा क्या हुई है कि बैंक्स ने एटलीस्ट प्रॉब्लम को रिकॉग्नाइज करना शुरू किया है। एनपीएस बढ़ नहीं रहे हैं, नए एनपीएस बढ़ नहीं रहे हैं, ये सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग बात थी इस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की।